Welcome back. The government and its officials, including the chief executive, may be far from shy about using social media to communicate their views, but reporters from online-only news organisations have long been excluded from directly questioning officials, obtaining press releases, attending government news conferences, or even accessing the government news and media information system.
Even in a small circle election like that for Hong Kong's next chief executive, popularity does have some part to play, and the main contenders to be the next CE are currently gamely promoting themselves. In part, that can involve gaining likes, shares, or immediate comments on social media, not a strategy that's overly familiar to or overly liked by some of the contenders. Former Chief Secretary Carrie Lam launched her own election website on Wednesday this week, although it doesn't allow the instant feedback offered by social media sites like Facebook. As even most Hong Kong government officials know, people are forming more of their opinions in response to online presence and online news. That doesn't mean they are friendly to the idea. In December last year, in response to a Hong Kong Journalists Association complaint that the government was denying digital media outlets access to press conferences and press releases, the Ombudsman ruled that the administration needed to review its practices and determine new guidelines as soon as possible. The new media in Hong Kong and other parts of the world have shown rapid development, said the verdict. These new media are on the par with the traditional media in terms of functionality, and some have even outpaced the latter. The Ombudsman added that it was not convinced that a perceived security risk was a valid excuse for the restrictions, which apply unless the online news organizations are affiliated to or produce their own printed newspapers or magazines. The actual circulation figures for those print publications do not matter.
There have been lots of meetings with different levels of government officials, and on the way we provide all sort of research information on how it was done in other international organizations like the EU, the UN, and it come to an extent that we start to think that it's not about technical. I mean, the hurdle is not the technical hurdle, it's something else, that whether it's politics being an element there.
In a newly released report, the International Federation of Journalists says it's pessimistic that the SAR will remove restrictions on online-only media. During a Legislative Council meeting early this month, Hong Kong First legislator Claudia Mo and Functional Constituency legislator Ma Fong Kwok both asked why the administration is dragging its feet on allowing access to digital journalists.
Secretary for Home Affairs just replied in writing, and he had stipulated that they have difficulties in arranging venue, and they said that the existing system is that they will consider this on a case-by-case.
Betty Lau is the editor of online news platform In Media. She says the government's reply shows it has no intention to honor the idea of press freedom. She adds that she can access the Legislative Council building with a press pass, and that this year her organization can even apply for permanent LegCo passes, just like any traditional media organization. But there are still restrictions. However, those restrictions don't seem to apply so much for issues the government itself is keen to publicize, such as the Hong Kong Palace Museum.
嗰個記者會其實因為係林鄭司長主持㗎嘛，主要係佢講嘢㗎嘛，咁其實即係就好得意咯，即係點解都係司長嘅記者會，但係如果係政府部門，即係新聞處負責嘅記者會，我哋就唔入得，但係西九文化管理局嘅記招，我哋就可以入到去。
In a written reply to LegCo, the Home Affairs Bureau outlined its other reasons for not being more open to online news outlets. The Bureau says it does not yet have a clear definition of what online media actually is. However, it did add that it acknowledges the suggestions of the Ombudsman and will conduct a study soon. It did not say how soon. The Hong Kong Journalists Association argues that the Bureau is simply using delaying tactics.
It is quite serious, but you know, this picture also amuses us. It's a screenshot, and this is embattled reporter Chris looking on, you know, during the elections last year at the press pit because he was condemned to the public area and wasn't able to, you know, watch the count, like a dog, you know, hoping to be let in.
Online-only news outlet Hong Kong Free Press has been operating for a year and a half as a non-profit organization. It is struggling to find ways to overcome what it sees as unfair restrictions on its reporting. It's also having a hard time raising funds. Tom Grundy says the way people consume news has changed, and it's inevitable that online news and independent journalism will become increasingly influential, whether governments like it or not.
There is a shift of professionals going into, you know, independent outlets, and I think a lot of that is to do with press freedom issues and ownership issues in Hong Kong. Particularly these big, you know, legacy media. They tend to be owned by media moguls or by mainland companies.
Over the past 10 years, around 30 online news platforms have been set up in Hong Kong. Many rely on crowdfunding as their source of income. FactWire, founded in 2015, came into operation last year. Focusing on investigative journalism, it initially set its fundraising target at $3 million, but eventually raised more than $5 million. It has already published a few scoops the government would rather it had not, and that were later picked up by traditional media. Observers have pointed out that alternatively financed news organizations like the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, financed by the non-profit Center for Public Integrity, have advantages in publishing contentious news. The consortium, working with assorted news outlets, released the Panama Papers. Without alternative funding or advertising revenue, it's harder than ever to survive on the digital-only platform.
Here's the problem with online media and advertising. I don't think anybody's figured out how to make money off of it. News media have had it, and they've had opportunities to charge some significant dollars for some of the advertising, but most of the advertising on news websites is scattered, and I don't think there's a real plan to it. I don't pay money for news media. It's all free. It's like if one newspaper starts charging me, I go to another one.
Citizen News began operating a few weeks ago. It offers bilingual news reports, commentaries, and news data analysis. Kevin Lau, one of its founders, says that retaining independence, serving the public interest, and surviving on public donations are its underlying principles.
Crowdfunding to us means one-off donation plus an ongoing subscription. We are offering subscription package to our readers, who may be willing to support us, say $100 Hong Kong dollars a month. Then if we have 4,000 subscribers, we have about 5 million recurrent revenue each year. That would be enough for our small enterprise to be sustainable. If you look at the background of the 10 founders of the platform, and many of them had been chief editor, news controller of mainstream media organizations, I would tend to think no single commercial body can employ all these people at the same time to do things together. It's not possible. It's only a non-profit public interest entity can have such cohesive force to bring them together, to work for the public. And I think that's the beauty of it.
Well, that's it from us for this week. From all of us at The Pulse, best wishes for a happy, healthy, and maybe even prosperous Year of the Rooster. Kong hei fat chai.
新年行好運啊，雞年行大運啊！
Bye.